up signs. You were right there. And if I crossed a line, well, it got me here in your air. It feels sweet like here in your home, warm like atmosphere around us. Still like the end of a day, strong like time that you could count on. I know I take my time and you stay right there. And when I lose my mind, well, you were so fair and well weird. It feels sweet like here in your home, warm like atmosphere around us. Still like the end of a day, strong like time that you could count on. You're not far, and if you are, you'll be calling me about now. It feels sweet like here in your home, warm like atmosphere around us. Still like the end of a day, strong like time that you could count on. Safe like gravity keeps you next to me, and when I'm feeling low, you do just step out and you're like every jump that you let me sleep in when I'm dreaming.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's me, no one else. Well, actually, I lie. I've got a couple of people here with me, but you're going to hear why in 2 secs, because you want to hear what the song you just heard. Yeah, I bet you do. You weren't dreaming. The song's called Dreamin'. It's off brand new EP by phenomenal Melbourne artist, or Melbourne band, should I say, SILT. It's called Contact High, and it's out now. And I'm on a high, on a roll, because we're going to be chatting to Jess and Josh from SILT. Guys, welcome to the show. How you going?
Thank you. Yeah, we're good. We're good. Loved that intro.
Thank you. That was actually quicker than more of my intros. I didn't want to ramble on because I want to get straight into things, because it's right after release day, you know. It's just come out actually as a recording 2 days ago. And I mean, how are you guys feeling?
Yeah, I'm just so excited about releasing it. I've been waiting, it feels like, since I was really young to put something out like this. So I'm just so proud of it and just so happy with how it turned out. And it's just a great moment for me and for us, I think.
Yeah, no, it feels great. I know it's been yeah, I mean, it's always fun when you get to like work with some really cool people and put some music together that you really like. But it's just a relief to get it out there, man. We were like, originally we had planned to put this out about a year ago.
Oh yeah.
But it just kept getting pushed back, because finding time to record between lockdowns was tough, and then lots and lots of other things getting in the way. But finally out there, which is really nice.
Yeah. It's a bit of a bastard, isn't it? This COVID business, because you guys would have had a plan. Because I'm guessing if you were planning to release this last year, all the songs were written. I'm guessing sometime before that as well.
Yeah, so we had, I think it was like April or May of 2020 that we had all the songs written.
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, we're going to record an EP. We're going to use this time in lockdown to like do it. But yeah, we kind of expected that we would be able to sort of come out of lockdown and actually get into the studio to do drums and stuff much sooner than we could. So yeah, there was like always a delay, always another delay. Our bass player was sort of based in Sydney for a little while. Like, she's from Melbourne. Well, actually she's from Sydney, but she's usually in Melbourne, but she got sort of trapped in Sydney, and there was a whole like problem trying to get her down to record as well. So it was a bitch basically.
Yeah.
Just the process. It is a bitch to get this shit done, because it is a labor of love, as I'm sure you would say, to all the fans out there that are just soaking up the tunes right now. Because, I mean, how much of it do you consider these songs your own babies or your own children?
Very much so. I feel like it reflects like me and like where I'm at in my life a lot, and sort of the spectrum of emotions that I deal with on a day-to-day basis or a week-to-week basis is probably more likely. But it feels like a part of me in that way, for sure. So yeah.
I'm hearing a lot of I and me in this, Jess. Now, I don't mean to be too cynical here, but it's got to happen at some point. These are I'm guessing, the principal songwriter with this project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've got to bring, as you say, you've got to bring your own emotions to the table. But how many eye rolls have the other band members given you for coming up with some self-centered, sadistic, sad, pathetic existence that you call living the songwriter's life, Jess?
Yeah, I feel like I roll at myself a lot, actually. Like, I write something and then I'm like, oh God, what a drama queen. But then I'm like, well, I am who I am, so I better just accept it. Actually, Josh and Harry is just like so sweet like that. Like, I think that they get something, it seems like from my perspective, they get something out of like, when I write this song and they want to know what it's about, and they want to like contribute to that story through the music that they like write or produce or whatever to go along with it. So, but also one song on the album was actually like Josh was the principal writer. So it is like a lot of my own stuff, but there's one from Josh on there too.
I was going to say, so it's the complimentary collaborative song, is it? Is that how we frame it?
It depends how you look at it. So there's one track that I wrote, music and lyrics, and then there's the other tracks which music and lyrics were predominantly all just from the structure of the songs, the lyrics, and then the production elements were Harry and I. But then there's our first single, I Always Need a Break. That was me writing the music and then Jess taking the music and coming back with the lyrics. And then there was cassette tape where Jess wrote the music and lyrics, and then Harry, we all just sort of collectively came up with this idea for the second half of the song, which was just an instrumental piece.
Yeah.
And so it is like, I can, not speaking for Jesse here, and I'm not the one writing most of the music or the songs, but it is, I really enjoy the process and really enjoy working with Jess specifically because I connect to the themes and the lyrics a lot, and I find that it's very easy for me to listen to her music and hear what bits of guitar or other instruments that I could, I sort of want to experiment in a song, and it's very accommodating like that. So, it's been a really good collaboration, but Harry and I definitely don't claim to be songwriters, so we take a bit of just for
well, you are a songwriter, but yeah, like it sounds.
I was gonna say, like, Jess, what's the counter argument here? What's the opinion on your front in regards to this whole collaboration business?
Oh, like. It's honestly, I feel like when you hear bands say, we were so collaborative, sometimes you're like, were you? But we have like love sort of like, I feel like all of us kind of slumped a little bit during lockdown at certain times as well. And we would be relying on the other people in the band to be like, hey, I've got an idea, like let's keep pushing this forward, and
the energy was kind of shifting between us through lockdown, so exactly that.
So we did was actually a really beautiful collaboration, and it was just like such a great thing for us to focus on together.
We were super lucky as well because we decided to do an EP on the back of just releasing a couple of singles and doing a lot of gigs like through 2019 and right at in the summer of 2019, 2020 before COVID, we were gigging once or twice a week, and I think that really made us a close unit as a band. And we all figured out each other really well during that time. So, it's not just getting to know each other as band members, but as mates as well, because we got to know the sort of things that each of us didn't like and each of us did like. And so we're able to accommodate each other. And then, as Jess said, when we all hit the sort of that serious depression of being in lockdown and in a pandemic and just having to stop everything, we found that, when Jess was having a down day, I might have had enough energy to push things forward. And when I was having a down day, Harry might have had enough energy to push things forward. And so even though it was a long and sort of, different process making music in lockdown, it was still, it was a very supportive, we all really believe in the music, when Jess writes a track and sends it around to us, pretty quickly, Harry and I usually sweet, let's do it. Let's make it song. This is fun,
Yeah.
It's good.
Yeah, it's great.
With I just want to touch on something you said there, Josh, because you were talking about just the first year that you were together as a unit. You were going out and just playing all the time. So with that, was there any particular aims with that, going by with that method rather than a lot of other bands perhaps would, even if they are only starting out, would they do gigs every now and again, as opposed to how often you guys were?
Look, I mean, I'll let Jess answer this as well, but briefly from my perspective, I'm the oldest member of the band, and I remember gigging when I was in my early 20s. And my experience then, and it was the same experience this time around, was that there's no way to get there's nothing better to improve yourself than playing in front of people. And for me, it was I was really keen to get us playing as many gigs as possible to just get better playing together and get tighter and figure out what bits of the songs worked well and what bits didn't, and sort of get that feedback in real time from the audience. But also, I know that there's a lot of pressure when you're playing a lot of gigs. There's a lot of stuff to organise and to promote and to book and to move around and coordinate, and that just drew us really close together as a band, I think, because we were all spending a hell of a lot more time together, gigging every week and rehearsing every week, so that when we started writing these songs and producing an EP, all that gigging meant that we were on exactly the same page going into this process, and we all knew each other well enough to know how to work with each other as effectively as possible, and it led to a pretty cohesive, journey.
Yeah, that's true.
I was going to say, Jess, with the fact that Josh goes about, imparting his senior citizen wisdom on the rest of the rest of you, was there any good advice that he gave you when the project did start that you've either kept a hold of or you've had to prove him wrong because he doesn't know what he's talking about? You can answer that question either way. This is a choose your own adventure kind of interview. You can answer it whatever way you so choose.
No, I love that. That's a good way. That's a good way to ask.
I feel like there's certain things that Josh said to me, especially before we even started the band, we were talking about it, or right after we started the band, that at the time, I didn't think it was untrue, but it didn't resonate with me straight away. But then later on, that's what he meant by that. And that's so true. And the experience kind of shows I remember one of the first things you said was like, being in a band is really hard work. And I was like, yeah, okay, like we're going to write music and have fun. But like, you're right, it's really hard and it's like actually so draining. It's not so worth it. But, you know, things like that, just like little pieces of wisdom like that, I suppose. But then I think also at the same time, like there's been times, you know, especially with like artistic decisions and stuff where Josh might have been like, I really think we should do this. And I've said, nah, I want to do it this way, you know, that way as well. But, you know, sometimes I do feel like, I don't know, I can still think that what I'm thinking is still valuable, even though I don't have as much experience.
I think at the end of the day, like this, like I feel like there are certain things in the production and music and band space that, you know, experience really helps with. But then there are other things that the experience kind of makes more challenging. You know, like technology changes, especially the way you record stuff. Like that changes so much. You know, I did an album when I was 19 and with another band, and the way we recorded that compared to being able to do stuff remotely now, like that was back in the day when no one had an interface at home. Like they just didn't exist. You know what I mean? And so there was no option to seriously record stuff at home. You know, or even get like. There are parts of this record where we used like the demos, like some tracks from the demos in the final version, just because they had an energy that, and you know, like that was just not possible in the past because you couldn't get it. You couldn't record at home to a good enough quality without having to spend a ton of money, you know, but it's just so cheap and accessible these days that, that you can achieve so much now without even going into a studio. It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Yeah.
But then there's also Harry. You know, like Harry's on not here at the moment, but he was in an amazing Melbourne band called the McQueens. You know, and they're a good band. You know, and he had lots of experience working in studios as well, so had lots of good advice to give. And it was his recommendation to work with Jimmy, who we worked with at Ginger Studios. Jimmy Lloyd, who's a bit of a legend. You know, we didn't really know much about him, but. You know, it was that wonderful sort of connection that Harry had to him that got us over the line with this.
Yeah, like Josh and Harry have definitely, like I have the least experience. Like this is the first band that I've been in, and they've both been for me. So I've definitely been guided by them through like a lot of stuff in this process.
So I think it dropped out there for a sec. Just so everyone hears that you're saying this is your first band. There's been no other bands you've been in before.
No, yeah, this is my first band, yeah.
Because you used to play just solo, I know, because I think that's where we first met years ago when you just used to rock up with your acoustic guitar, or was it the keys? I can't remember.
Yeah, a bit of both. Sometimes got the keyboard, sometimes the guitar. But yeah, I'm from Perth, so I started doing that in like 2015 or something, a little bit. And I lived in London for a bit and did it there as well, and then eventually in Melbourne. So I've played on a lot of open mic stages, it feels like. And to me, I think it always just felt like a hobby, and I was like, I write songs and I play them on the side. And, you know, I never even really thought like to start a band, even though it's been like the most wonderful thing ever. I don't know what it is. I just thought, this is like me. I'm just going to like play these songs for fun. But then here we are.
What makes you go from London to Melbourne though? From Perth? It's a little bit of a dog leg.
Yeah, I mean, going to London was just like the classic wanting to go overseas for a bit thing. But then I met a guy in London, of course, who was from Melbourne. So we got together and I moved back to Melbourne with him in, what year was that? 2015 or something. So I've been here for years now. We've since broken up, but I still love Melbourne, so I'm still here.
It's always the case, isn't it? You go somewhere overseas, think I'm not going to see another Australian. Lo and behold, there you go. You get attached to the one other fellow countryman.
Familiarity.
Australians are bloody everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, like every country I've been to, I've bumped into Australian, and I reckon in most of them I've bumped into an Australian from Melbourne. Like it's weird. We just love to travel.
Yeah.
You were mentioning before, Josh, about your producer. You have to remind me of his name again.
Jimmy Lloyd Wyatt from Ginger Studios.
Thank you.
That's his name.
So, what was the reason behind choosing Jimmy as your producer for the record?
Well, we did a bit of shopping around at the start. We reached out to a few producers who we knew and whose music we liked, and had a few conversations. But at the end of the day, Harry, our drummer, had worked with Jimmy and his old band, the Queens, and had a lot of really good feedback about Jimmy's work ethic and his approach to music, and also Jimmy is turns out Jimmy's pretty well renowned in the music scene as a good vocal producer. He's worked with Justin Bieber and the Wu-Tang Clan and, Mario and like all those crazy people. And we've just got, aside from the fact that his studio is just like fucking wicked, I can say that. He's amazing at what he does and his gear and his knowledge. I've never seen someone use Pro Tools like him either. Like something that would take me 45 minutes to figure out in Pro Tools is like 1 second for him. Like he knows how to use the system so well and has like such a good ear that, you can really it gives you, because, at the end of the day, when you're working with a producer, you're kind of on the clock to an extent. You don't want to feel like, you can't work on a record forever. So when you got someone like Jimmy who there was no time wastage on his end through the process, if you know what I mean. He was, no matter what abstract idea we put out there, he knew how to put it down. Yeah. And that was amazing. He's such a good producer, and he's got a nice little studio in Northcote at the moment, and his expertise on this is what got it over the line. Like we were able we could just say to him, we want this, and would have no idea in our own heads if it was even possible, and he could achieve it straight away. Like his experience is phenomenal. Yeah.
Are there any points on the record that are all his input? He goes, this deserves a little something here, a little bit of the old Jimmy spice.
Yeah, absolutely. So in I Always Need a Break, in the chorus, how there's those sort of like tribal vocal tracks underneath the vocal. Yeah. So that was all Jimmy's idea. And I think that was his favorite song on the EP, and he just loved it. And he really like amped up that tribal vibe. And he also sort of adjusted the drum idea so that it had a bit more of that
tribal vibe. Yeah. If you listen to on that same track, under the bridge, under the middle eight, actually, there's a Moog doing some crazy like arpeggiated stuff, and it almost sounds a bit prog rock, like sounds like something that could be in a Muse song, and that was him. That was me saying to Jimmy, mate, something needs to be there. I have no idea what. I have no idea. I've make it work. And him just like half an hour later sending back a track being like, how does this sound? And, it kind of just blows us away. He's just, incredible to work with, mate.
Yeah. Incredible. And the other thing was, there was so many things, but the thing that comes to mind at the moment is, we did mention those artists that he's worked with that are a bit more like R&B or hip hop and that sort of style. And then with My Ordinary, the verse lyrics are like kind of that vein. Like then it's not rapping, but it's very rhythmic.
I was noticing that too. Yeah.
And he coached me like through that heaps, and so I think he really elevated like the vocal performance in that song. So that's just like a couple of examples of things that he did. He was really good.
Jimmy's genius.
Yeah.
So.
Well, I mean, if he knows how to work them Pro Tools like a pro.
We're always so impressed by that.
Yeah. Clearly, I can tell you, Josh. 45 minutes. It would take me 1 second. He's got them. He's got them preset shortcuts ready to go.
If anything, it was like completely humbling watching someone like that. Like not just that. Like he got like we were really lucky, man. Like we were in lockdown, and originally we were thinking we're going to have to record this at home and just send stems. But we ended up having this lovely break in lockdown, and Jimmy, so kind of him, actually got us into Sing Sing recording studios down in and we got to spend a couple of days laying down drum, bass, and some other tracks at Sing Sing, and seeing him work in that environment as well, with that amazing studio at his disposal and that old, Neve console and stuff was just, it was just brilliant. Like, it was just a fun time and a great experience.
Yeah.
Where is Sing Sing again? Because that's one of that I always hear about, but I actually don't think I know where it's located.
Yeah, there used to be two of them. They used to have one in Cremorne and one in South Yarra. The Cremorne one's closed, so now it's just in South Yarra. It's on the north side of Chapel Street, right before you get into Richmond. Yeah, it's really, you would never know there was a studio there, but when you walk in, it's like, yeah, it's amazing. It's like the studio in Melbourne, really. History.
Yeah, I know, because you hear about it so much. Like, people, oh, she's done it, sing. Is like, okay, cool. This is some reference I don't get. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's lots of things you don't need. The studio doesn't necessarily need to be a street-facing venture. Like, it's a sort of, if you know, you know sort of thing. So no fancy shop fronts. Just a dodgy-looking door, you know?
Yeah.
You know what, to be honest, man, there's something like super romantic about going through a dodgy door and seeing all these studio. Yeah, like, I don't know. It's like it's sort of like what you dream about when you think about recording an album. It's like working in a studio like that. It's crazy.
You know, you could do, you know, the old internet joke, hot dogs or legs? Like, you know, with the dodgy door, like dodgy door, is it a world-class studio or is it a brothel? Could be either or.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to find one or two things behind that door.
This is going to be my activity after lockdown. We're just going to drive around. You know, people do that where they drive around looking for hard rubbish. We're going to drive around looking for dodgy doors, and we're going to take bets on what it is, open it up and go, oh, yeah, the velvet curtains are here. Oh, wait, that could still mean anything. Okay, we'll close that. But when, so Jess, going back to sort of your experience doing solo stuff, with the songs, was there ever an intention for you to, like, was the idea originally for you to do this sort of thing solo and have the EP done as a solo project?
No. So like when I was writing solo stuff and, you know, performing them acoustically, I always had an idea in my head of like the production and how I thought it might come together. Honestly, like, I think that I just never quite had the confidence to like go about it on my own. And I just thought, it sounds so sad, but like, I just didn't think anyone would like care enough. And I was like, I'm just doing this for myself, and, you know, that's fine. And I was happy with that. But then I met Josh, and I showed him my songs, and he heard me play a few times, and he just like loved it. And he had all these ideas, and he was like super engaged. And it was really his idea to start a band. And I was really happy to have sort of a team around me to like produce the songs and to kind of give me that confidence and like back me up and, you know, fill in knowledge gaps where I didn't have it and all that stuff. So I think like I never really thought that it was my ambition to do it all on my own. I think, yeah.
Yeah, because as well with that, as we were mentioning before, you're very versatile in terms of what you can do, because you do play keys and guitar. And I remember when I watched you guys play, was it your last gig that you've played, the one that you opened for Great Emu War Casualties? Was that the last gig you guys played, or have you played since?
Yeah, I reckon it might have been, actually.
I was going to say, there hasn't really been much opportunity in the last few months, has there?
And we had others lined up, but they got cancelled, so I think that might have been one, yeah.
But yeah, it was very lucky to see you guys at the Great Emu War Casualties EP launch.
That's it.
And I mean, were you always, like, when you're playing these songs, you always like to mix? Well, I was going to say, I was going to ask you, but like, do you always like to mix it up? Well, of course you do. That's what you do on stage. But you're always planning out when you're writing the songs, just what you're going to play on them when you do decide to play it live, or is it really a sort of it's going to come along as you go? You really don't know.
It depends on the song. Like, you know, sometimes I'll be writing a song on the guitar, but as I'm writing it, I'm like, oh, this is definitely going to be like actually a piano song, but I need to think some about, you know, what that sounds like. But other times, like, I'll be writing a song and on the piano, say, and like I figure out a riff as I'm writing it or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, that's the main hook or something. Yeah. Like, depends on how it comes together. Some songs take like honestly years for me to figure out what instrument I should be playing, or the others should be playing, or yeah.
But then there's other songs, like if I go back to the first song we ever recorded together, was A Little Far Away, and we just recorded it with a guy named Nick at Homebrewed Studios in Park Lilydale. And you know, it was our first track. It was that we were recording as a band, you know, and that, to sort of give you a sense of how Jess works on songs is, like some stuff might take you a while to figure out, but she has these moments, and like on A Little Far Away, she came to me, and I'm the one playing most of the guitars in the band. She came to me and she's like, I've got this song, and I know exactly how it needs to be. And she taught me all the guitar parts. And the finished product of that song is 100% Jess. Even though I'm playing guitars, she was like, these are the exact chords, the exact. And she had just written the song from start to finish and understood the production in her head. So, that happens as well, where Jess is just like, this is exactly what it needs to be. So, it's a bit of both, but you also have done that and it's worked out really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that. Like, that's the most satisfying thing about when you're like, I know it all. It's all in my head. Yeah. And you're kind of like worried you're going to forget it or something. And you're like, you need to learn this right now. Yeah.
Does Jess tend to have these like unconscious tropes that she brings to her songs? I don't know. There's always a chord progression that she approaches, or there's always a weird melody thing that she might put in there. Have you noticed any patterns with that? And you have to sometimes go, hold up, cowboy. This is the 4th song this week that has that exact same inflection and we need to slow down.
Look, I actually, weirdly, I find Jess's songs to be quite different, and to a point where a lot of, like, there are songs that she's written that I don't, like, they're different. They're different enough from each other that I can't imagine them being a record. So I would say, look, they're consist. Like, from my end, the thing that's probably most consistent in Jess's songs are the themes of the lyrics. Yeah, they're probably, like, the lyrical themes are probably the most consistent.
Well, as a guitarist, we won't concern ourselves with lyrical themes too much.
No, exactly. I see myself as a guitarist as like, I just need to support the rest of the song. And, I think, I think I've learned over the years, Jess's instincts are usually spot on, because even when we've deviated from her initial thoughts, we've often just ended up coming straight back to where she started.
Oh, I was going to say, Jess, what do you say to that? Is that a conscious decision? You're always trying to write songs that sound different?
A little bit, yeah. Like, I do want there to be variety, of course, and yes and no, though, because, like, I find when I'm writing music, I'm mostly just letting my, like, emotional state of mind, like, guide me through that. So like, what chord comes next? Well, what do I want to feel in that moment? Or, like, what should this hook feel like? It's just, I don't really sort of think about it from, like, a technical or theoretical perspective. I'm just like, I'm just feeling my way through it. But sometimes I'll write something and I'm like, oh, that's really similar to that other thing, and I should probably change that. Or so it's a bit of both.
With because when I was listening to the record, and I mentioned this, I think, before we started too, Josh, about how it really sort of was a really interesting sort of just piece of music to listen to as a whole. All the different songs coming together, but there were a lot of different sonic elements that are in there. You've got very luscious synthesizers in there, electronic elements. You've got some, very more guitar prominent parts as well. You've got your rhythmic gang vocal, tribal bullshit you've got somewhere in there, you were saying before. But were there any, when you were putting the songs together, were there any sort of records that you were listening to, any artists in particular that you're like, right, we want to try and imitate that because that's really cool?
Yeah, for sure. I actually think that there's probably, like, a different artist for each aspect of the production, you know what I mean? Like, some artists that inspire us lyrically, there are some that inspire us production-wise, but I would actually say one of, like, in terms of production and overall the texture and the sound of the EP, I reckon one of the biggest influences was Holy Holy, who are, I don't know if you know the band Holy Holy.
Yeah.
They've got this great ability to, I don't know what it is, man. Like, the way they use synths and electric guitars and vocals and bass and drum, and then they have all these other little electronic elements through the song that at the end of the day, when you listen to their music, it still sounds like kind of pop rock, but there's more in it, just pop rock, those traditional pop rock elements, and I love that. So, like, production-wise, they provided a bit of a reference for a few bits, but also, like, you hate it. Jess had this, there's a song by Snail Mail called Speaking Terms that, huge reference for You Hate It in terms of the way that was produced and And another band that I think whether it consciously contributed to the way we put things together or not, we've been really inspired by the band Middle Kids. And I think one of the reasons that we find them really inspiring is they've achieved this level of success through really just amazing songwriting. Like if you listen to their music, production-wise, most of their songs, we're talking like take the drums out of it, and there's really only 6 or 7 other tracks going on in their songs, you know? I listen to their music and I feel like you could achieve all of this on a 24-track mixer and it sounds huge. It sounds big and energetic. They are great songwriters. And I think for us, I know, and I hope you don't mind me speaking on behalf of you here a little bit, there were many times where we actually referred to a Middle Kids song as a way to achieve a big sound without necessarily adding more instruments. Because we find that like, as much as this is a very produced EP, there's lots going on. At the end of the day, there was a lot of scrutiny on every layer we added. So we sort of threw down all the bass tracks, the bass layers, like your fundamental tracks of the songs. We added on top of that, went through a hell of a lot of scrutiny. And the question we asked was, is it really adding anything to the track or not? Is there a reason for it to be there or not? Because of bands like Middle Kids being able to achieve huge sounds and great production with seemingly, relatively straightforward instruments and nothing too complicated. They're not using huge amounts of samples or synths and things, and then, but conversely, Holy Holy sat on the other end of that scale.
Yep.
And they very produced music, but still managed to maintain a sense of honesty in their songs, even though they're huge. And for us, it was like, how do we love that their songs are really honest and direct, even though the production is huge. And we also love the same thing about Middle Kids, even though the production is relatively, raw and organic. And so for us, it was, how do you balance those two? How do you not overproduce? And how do you ensure you maintain the integrity of the song while also, supporting it the right way through various sonic elements? Yeah, it's a hard thing with reference bands, because I feel like even our producer was like, do you have any reference songs for this mix? And we were like, we don't have a reference song, but we've got like 20 seconds of a song. And that 20 seconds is the, you know what I mean? And so that's, How
much that piss off Jimmy? I want it to be sparse, but at the same time, I want it to be over the top. What can you do for us,
We were probably the most annoying bloody band members we can work with. But at the end of the day, I think he pulled it off. Like, it was, we were like, we want to use these instruments, and I think he did a really good job. But no doubt, we stretched his patience a little bit once or twice.
Oh yeah, but as I'm sure as every producer, as every producer that you talk about tells you, it's those ones that are always the most rewarding. Because you've got to be, it's not just the producer pushing you as the artist, it's the artist pushing the producer as well, because that's how they get better.
Yeah, definitely.
And if you get a few if they get a few horror stories about it, well then, you're in there, you're living in their head rent free.
I can tell you one quick anecdote was on cassette tape, the last song, there's a bit of silence right before the first chorus. And we were so adamant that silence just needed to just sit in the pocket so well. It needed to be the right amount of time. It needed to let the vibe of the verse die before the first chorus hit. And I remember hearing Jimmy's mixes and messaging Jimmy. And then I think it was at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. the mix that was actually the perfect mix, But it's...
Oh, he messaged you at 2 a.m.
Yeah. Oh, he was like, "Oh, I figured this out. Here it is."
He's definitely a night owl, Jimmy.
Oh yeah, Jimmy's a total night owl. But he's very accommodating, mate. Especially given the caliber of people he's worked with. To sort of just see how he interacts with us, a very inexperienced band who is just playing local Melbourne. It was actually beautiful, man. Kudos to him. He's. Yeah, I can't speak highly enough of that guy and his work. It's magical. I feel very lucky to have worked with him, to be honest.
With that though, now I'm guessing we're looking at, potentially, fingers crossed, maybe in a month or so, possibly able to get back and do gigs again. Are there any plans in the works at this stage to have some sort of launch for the EP once you can?
Yeah, we definitely are looking to do that. We have sort of booked a show, but that one's like mid-November or something, I think, and I think we're just going to use that as like a warm back-in experience. But maybe Josh had something a bit more to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, nothing's confirmed at the moment, but I've been doing I do most of the sort of gig bookings and stuff for the band, and I've got like 3 venues, and I'm talking
so that's why he's in the band, Jess. I get it. There's all the connections.
I'm not really good at making the connection.
No, this is where I think my experience served me really well. Is I used to be in a band with a guy who knew everyone.
Okay.
And so I met everyone through that guy, and it made it a lot easier this time around. But yeah, no, look, I'm definitely going to do something. I think we'll probably be looking at doing a proper launch. I reckon December or January, to be honest, at this point. But
it's a good time to do it, though. Let's face it. It's the middle of summer. Everyone's in that holiday mode. Coincidentally, It ends up being actually a pretty good time of the year to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with this first song, Dreamin' on the EP, because we were originally thinking we were going to release it like in winter, basically. And I was like, that's such a summer song, and like I was kind of disappointed that it was going to come out like in the middle of winter, and it's kind of worked out. Like now we're going to be performing it for the first time, probably when it's nice and warm, and it's going to like feel right. So yeah.
And look, man, I mean, I'm sure you experienced this as well. We were lucky enough to gig maybe 3 times in between some bands, and the appetite of the public for live music was huge. And so I feel like not only are we going to be lucky enough to be gigging in summer, but I reckon there'll be so many people just keen to see live music that you end up getting a lot more people showing up for your shows. We're really excited to get back onto the gigging.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think everyone's just tired of the bullshit and wants to have a really good summer, which reminds everyone, get vaxxed if you haven't already. Because I want a fucking summer. Don't steal my sunshine, hey?
That's it. Get jabbed, get live music.
Yeah, as I've been saying, get pricked, you dog cunts. That's the only time I'm going to say the C word on this show. If I say it again, my station manager is going to be very upset. But I feel like it's all for a good cause, so yeah. As I said to the nurse, she goes, "Oh, you right with needles, are you?" This is when I was getting my first joke. She goes, "You're right with needles." I go, "It's all good." Just to quote Austin Powers, it's just a little prick. I thought that was pretty good. She laughed. She's like, "Okay, this guy's you could tell it was the only joke she had all day. She's just been jabbing randoms all day. Needed a break up the day." I was going to say, before we get on to playing the last track, and I don't know if this will ease ourselves into talking about that last track, Jess, but on the topic of your lyrics, because we've sort of bounced around that a bit. Lyrically, from the whole record, I mean, musically it sounds, as I said, very tight. Very sort of cohesive as a whole piece. Did it end up being the same thing for the lyrics? Were you happy with how, I guess, connected all the songs were on a thematical, lyrical level?
Yeah, I wouldn't say that they are all about the same thing or super connected, but I do think that there is a natural theme that's kind of run through them because they do represent this period of my life, and therefore it's just a natural extension of who I am at the moment and what I'm going through. And of course, with Josh's song as well, it manages to fit in there really nicely. I'm really happy with the lyrics actually, and I always am pretty self-critical with that stuff and always thinking about how I can do better. But at the same time, I'm super proud of all the lyrics and the themes that are running through it as well. So yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And actually let's talk about, because we're going to play your most recent single really in a moment called You Hate It, which we've mentioned a couple of times so far. You were saying this was one song in particular that you had a lot to say about, or there was a lot going on. So can you maybe give us a bit more info as to what that's about?
Yeah, just a history of the song really. So this is the oldest song on the EP, as in I wrote it the longest time ago. And when would have that been? 3 or 4 years ago now. And
it was the first song I ever heard just ever.
Yeah.
Was that the gateway drug, so to speak, Josh? Was this what hooked you on?
100%.
Hooked you on the Jess train.
I started with a gentle sniff and ended up an addict.
Wow.
Here I am. I'm a guitar junkie. Can't get around it.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was quite like, you know how songwriters sometimes talk about that like spiritual feeling where like you just kind of write a song and you don't know where it came from almost, and it feels like it just kind of came through you or something like that.
Yeah.
I'm not like religious person or anything, but it does feel a bit like that when you write a song in that way. And basically I was with someone else at that time, and we'd had like an argument, and I was stewing over it all day basically. And I got on the train home and I just had all this like stuff buzzing around in my head, and it just like I just wrote all the lyrics out like on the train home within like 20 minutes. It was crazy, and it was just all there, and I kind of had an idea of how it would play together. And once I got home, I just picked up the guitar, and it kind of all came together really quickly. But I feel like it's also quite a unique song for me because it doesn't it has like a lot of like inflections and like little like cheeky moments, and also the range that I use with my voice is like quite a bit wider than I usually would, so I kind of hit low notes and high notes sort of more extreme way. And
was that to sort of set a point? Was like that a conscious decision to say, right, this is a theme about having this sort of argument and this sort of tumultuous thing, therefore I'm going to be more tumultuous in my singing to reflect that?
Absolutely. And I think it also just reflected how upset and how frustrated I was at that particular time. Like it was just like projected straight through into the lyrics and the melody. It was kind of odd. Like it's just kind of weird to think about that I wrote that song sometimes because I don't know where it came from. But yeah, I love it. It's awesome.
Nice. So we are gonna play it in a sec, as I said before. But before I do, I just want to say thank you guys for coming on the show and having a good old chat about the EP and what was going on behind the scenes.
Oh, our pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
But yeah, we are going to play it. So guys, why don't you take us out? Tell us who you are and what we're about to hear.
Okay, so yeah, we're SILT, and this song that you're about to hear is You Hate It. It's the lead single of our most recent EP, Contact High, our debut EP rather. So.
Yes, and then let's I was going to think of a segue. Never mind. Let's do it away. Or I couldn't think of anything better.
Yeah. Insert segue.
Insert segue here. Edit out later.
Exactly.
Thanks, Josh. Thanks, Jess. Enjoy the rest of your lovely afternoon or humid afternoon we've got down here in Melbourne. And I guess let's play the song. You Hate It.
Thanks so much.
Thanks, Daniel.
Have a great one.
It wears me down so much so there is no room left to go. And you shut off your shine when there's pressure always lining the insides. And I'd usually defend my corner, but I'll look a little further because you hate it. Yeah, you were so far gone. I don't blame you, and you probably seen me. Facing challenges, and I'm just so weak. And I'd usually take this opportunity to say I'm fucking right. No humility inside, but you hate it. I won't live there again. I won't live there again. No, I won't. requires space and boundaries set in a stony place to keep myself from running away and spending silly money just to gain a room where there's a lock and key to keep damn people away from me. And I hope someday you'll see the space is just the temple I need. I won't live there again. I won't live there again. No, I won't. No, I won't. I won't live there again. No, I won't live there again. No, I won't.
AustralianMusiciansRadio.com